In a recent therapy session with a 15-year-old client, my supervisor, who had observed me in the session, shared with me that she thought my empathy and my validation was excellent. However, I tended to over normalize my client's experience. Her feedback as an observer was that she felt like I was trying to reassure my client a little bit too much. For example, when my client shared that she felt really anxious about her class presentation, I said things to her like, that's completely normal. We all get anxious when talking in front of crowds. It's not an easy thing to do. Which was good. However, I repeated that a few times throughout the session. And so she noted that if she was on the receiving end of that, being the client, she may have started to wonder, am I not normal? Like, is that why she keeps saying that I'm normal? Like, is there something about me that she feels like she needs to keep telling me that I'm normal? So I thought about that a lot, and I watched the video back. And I did notice that I did try to normalize a little bit too much. So I really took that on board. It really landed with me because my intention was to make my client feel safe and understood. But I realized that by rushing to normalize, I may have inadvertently minimized her, or at least minimized the emotional experience in that moment. So as a result, instead of deepening the connection, I feel like I may have subtly pulled us away from that moment. As I reflected on this, I recognized that it's definitely a familiar pattern. I do know that I have a strong instinct to create safety and stability when someone is in distress. I know that this is a quality that I have, and I certainly know that it's something that I see in my personal relationships as well. But I'm learning that in therapy, that same instinct can sometimes become a containment reflex, a tendency to move too quickly to comfort rather than staying with the discomfort long enough to really let something deeper unfold. So I also noticed that my internal focus shifted from being with the client to doing something for her. So I think what was happening in those moments is that my mind jumps very quickly to like I need to help, or I need to fix, or I need to do something in this moment, which then quickly pulls me out of presence. So the more I reflect on that, I think it comes from a place of just wanting to do a good job, or wanting to alleviate that discomfort. But I've come to realize that it can unintentionally limit the client's space to be able to process that emotion in their own way. So through supervision and a lot of reflection, I've learned that empathy is less about easing distress, and I think more about dignifying it by staying present. So since then, I've instead, I've tried to, instead of saying, that's completely normal to be feeling that way, I'm trying to stay with it and saying something like, that sounds really hard. What's been the hardest part for you? In that way, I'm keeping focus on the client's experience and staying and just trying to invite exploration in them rather than providing reassurance. Since receiving this feedback, also, I've been really deliberate in integrating this learning into my ongoing client work. So, for example, another adolescent client who often minimizes her feelings, I focus on just slowing down the pace and using reflective statements like, using reflective statements rather than reassuring. So just allowing her to stay with her own emotional experience for longer, with that particular client, I have noticed that this has strengthened trust between us. And I've noticed that it has helped her to generate her own insights for herself. In another session with another young adult experiencing anxiety, I consciously pause now before offering any normalization. Like, so instead of normalizing, I'll just check and just try to be a little bit more curious with this one. So asking, what's happening for you as you sit with that feeling. That question has been quite helpful for me. Just these little small adjustments have helped for me to tolerate my own impulse to soothe, and at the same time really help to deepen the emotional processing for the client at the same time. This experience has reminded me that the same qualities that make me empathetic as a person, my sensitivity, my intuition, and my care also need to be balanced with stillness, trust, and most importantly, restraint. I think that's the thing that I find the hardest. I'm learning that therapeutic safety isn't created by removing discomfort, but by being fully present within it. I've noticed that my professional competence has really developed since working on this feedback, and helped me to increase my own self-awareness as well. It's teaching me that effective therapy isn't about doing more, but about being more present. That shift from emotional management to emotional presence, it really reflects the clinician that I'm becoming and the values that I want to embody in my ongoing practice. Thank you.